We're going to talk a little bit about millennials again. Yeah, Ken's going to join us here on the Gary Sutton Show to get into some of that about the millennials, and they take a look at work in a different way than many of us have traditionally. We're going to break it down for you here on the Gary Sutton Show, and then it's your turn to make the call at 11:35. Right now, it's 11 o'clock. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. With us this morning, the guy who works with millennials on a regular basis. He is Ken Davidson. I was looking at a survey that came out recently. We talked, it was called, actually it was about first world problems, but this survey, I was reading it in Deseret News this morning. The millennials are seeking part-time work, more flexibility. And I'm thinking to myself, being a baby boomer myself, that how do you get that? And I wanted to ask someone who deals with millennials on a regular basis, and Ken Davis does exactly that, and he joins us this morning here on the Gary Sutton Show. Hey, Ken, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I am doing really well. Now, are you a millennial yourself? I
think we all wish we were. I am not. I'm a Gen X guy.
All right, but you're closer to the millennials than I am. I'm like 2 away, you're 1 away, and you're doing pretty well with that, right?
I'm doing the best I can.
Anyway, great to have you on the show. You know, I was reading this thing this morning, and it was kind of I think it was a sarcastic article by a guy named Greg Kratz in the Deseret News. I don't know if you saw the piece, but it was interesting to me. He said, I received an email about a new survey that showed many millennials would prefer to work part-time instead of full-time. I thought, yeah, doesn't that sound nice? And I think a lot of us probably look at it that way, too. He said, not realistic, perhaps, at least when you're trying to support a family of 6, but still nice. And he said, anyway, back to the survey, Flex.jobs, an online service for professionals seeking telecommuting, flexible schedule, part-time and freelance jobs, surveyed 211 people under the age of 35 who wanted part-time work. 57% of the respondents are currently full-timers, while 15% are unemployed. Is this realistic to think that you could have part-time work, more flexibility, and still be able to pay the bills?
I think that back to your comment, I think the baby boomers called the life of right. I think it is realistic, and it just really depends. Maybe the millennials, aren't always trying to keep up with the Joneses like the previous generations.
Sure.
They're also, and they're quick, they're fast workers, and they may be able to put in 20 hours a week and get 40 hours of, effort or, out of it, at the end. So I think that, it's realistic. I don't think it's hopefully not a reflection that, some of our younger children or millennials are lazy or anything. I think they're maybe just trying to work smarter, or maybe they're trying to diversify. Maybe they have 2 jobs.
A lot of us, when we went to work, and this is what I wanted to get you on for this, when I was talking last week about the 4 different groups out there that basically, have been working, and there's a lot of people who went out and they said, well, I got to join the rat race. I got to go out. I got to get a job. I hope to be able to move up in that job. But the idea was initially that you get a job and you stick with it for, 25, 30, maybe 35 years. You get out of it, you retire, and life is good, right?
We found out. Career.
Yeah, nice career. That is not the way the millennials look at things, is it?
No, not really. And not necessarily that they're short term, but I think they look at, maybe the stepping stones and what are they going to do. I mean, obviously they can be segmented. You've got, millennials that are young professionals that have gone on to higher education and furthermore to be a doctor and have a specific, niche of employment, what they wanted to do. I think the other ones are trying to find their way in the world and figure out what they want to do, and they want to have, they're smart. They want to, balance their social life with their work life, and maybe if it can be even combined, that'd be the ideal situation, and they may not want to live in $1 million home.
It's interesting that a lot of us, I think, over the years subjugated some of the social life and so forth because of the way that we went about having to do our work life. That kind of came first because that was putting bread on the table. You were getting health care out of that. You were, a lot of things. You're taking care of the kids, college educations, all that kind of stuff. And millennials, again, seem to have this different look to it that, okay, a lot of us are single. What happens for millennials when you see these polls taken when they get families? I mean, that certainly got to be more of a consideration. I saw a number of them say, well, what do you do about health care? And a number of them say, well, my spouse takes care of it, or whatever. I don't want to trivialize it, and I don't want to make it too simple here, but where do you go once the family comes?
I think that that's when you really got to turn on the gas and, get a lot of hard work done. But if you're working smart and maybe you're starting off with, a job where you're working part-time that has it's not a closed door at the end of that. That's not all that you're ever going to get, where maybe that could, parlay into more of a career, just depending on, well, I'm flexible now. I'm working 20 hours a week. I have an opportunity to work 50 hours a week if I want to, and I can end up owning my own business. The harder I work, the bigger rewards I'm going to get, and I'm going to be the one that's going to dictate, that path.
One of the things that I saw that's really interesting in the way, and I really enjoy trying to figure out how these different groups think, is millennials will say, okay, I'm going to work 20 hours a week part-time, but then I'm going to freelance doing other stuff. It's like, where we would focus on one job and then you come home and that's it, then you do your leisure activities or whatever, or spend time with your family. They don't seem to be quite as much in that vein. They may want to still spend time with their families and so forth, but they're saying, okay, because a lot of what I can do doesn't necessarily mean reporting to a 9-to-5 job. I can do it at home, or I can, freelancing, I can do something else. But they are, by nature, it seems to be more multitaskers than unitaskers. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well, that was spoken with real sobriety. I like that. Yeah, I mean, that was like granite level there. I listen to how people inflect in their voice. One of the things that's interesting me, I hear people say, look at these millennials. They live with their parents longer. They're laggers and so forth. How would you dispel the fears of people who look at things like that and say, you got to look at it a different way?
Well, I mean, times have changed, obviously, particularly with all the technology, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, back, when I was in college, we didn't even have cell phones, but people showed up.
Yeah.
And these days, it's very easy for people to make changes. I mean, you're 3 hours down the road in 5 minutes these days. But I don't think we should be discouraged about it. I think that they're incredibly intelligent. And I think they're trying to figure out and understand that, if I can do something, make a living doing what I like to do, which, believe me, I mean, a lot of people in my generation and yours, of course, I mean, you grind it out, and you've been grinding it out.
Sure.
Next thing you know, you're 50, 60 years old, and wow, where did my time go? What did I do?
Sure.
Or what I didn't do. So I think that, we shouldn't be discouraged by it. And I think that as long as the supporting or existing businesses, like really the one that I have with Eagle Independent Insurance Agency, we offer, these millennials an opportunity to, if you want to flex time, don't even go out. You don't need a suit and you don't need a tie. You got a laptop, you got a cell phone. We're going to give you access and a support system that, you can work 10 hours a week and you can make money. You can work 40 hours a week. It's completely flexible. You don't have to get up and go to the office. You can sleep till 9 o'clock. And your productivity is basically based on, how hard you work. And if you want to go on and have a piece of this, you can own part of the business and make a career out of it. And I think my point is that existing businesses, if they look at that way and kind of modify and disrupt them, the existing models, and allow this kind of opportunity, there's going to be great success with these millennials.
So your company that you have right now, name your company again, Ken?
It's Eagle Independent Insurance Agency.
Right, and talk a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, so we're an independent insurance agent. We primarily sell insurance with multiple insurance carriers for auto, home, apartment, motorcycle, watercraft insurance, et cetera. And what we've done is we've launched what we call the Licensed Client Advisor Program for Eagle.
Okay.
And we're basically bringing people business in a box. We're taking down all the barriers of entry for even starting a business or getting into the business. The bottom line is you become a licensed client advisor. We have all the backroom support. We carry all the E&O insurance. We basically give you all the tools necessary so that when you walk out your door or you get on your phone or get on your social media, everybody, 99% of the people that you interact with are your potential customers. I mean, we're selling something that everybody needs, and that's all they've got to do. They're millennials. They're very social, whether it's on the internet, any kind of social media, or in person. They can be at a coffee shop, meet a person, write their insurance, move on to the next one while we do all the backroom support, and just go, go, go. And if they get to certain levels, we give them sweat equity ownership, and they can own up to 49% of the business.
Wow. That's an interesting thing. So, one of the things you said there really is important is you're breaking down the old models, and the old models, because of technology, is really changing a lot of things. Something else that really is changing a lot of things, and again, in the technology area, I keep reading these stories about, robots are doing more and more work. We see millennials, the very first thing they saw was basically a recession. It looked like a depression to them coming in, so they had to be a little bit disillusioned. We see the world changing literally through the course of a couple of years for them all the time, and so the world is not staying the same for them on a regular basis. And obviously a lot of jobs that used to be done by people are being done more and more by robots, and so then you got to find new jobs that we don't even know right now what they might be, that 10 years down the line might be new jobs that are created that these people have to be ready for on a constant basis, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. It goes back to my statement that, we're responsible for, really the success of these millennials to a certain extent. We've got to think outside of the box. We have to understand that look at all the jobs that have gone over to other countries. We got to figure out what's going to work here. I mean, my business, I'm in the people business. Sure, you got all these online things where you
right.
go get insurance quotes all day long. At the end of the day, I'm in the retention business, and it's a people business, and it'll always be that way for the real primary, preferred business that, independent agents want to write. And that's what millennials are. They're social, and that's why it's such a great opportunity. And there's a big kind of an age gap in the insurance business. It's most insurance agency owners are, well in their 60s, and there's not a lot of young people out there thinking, you know what, I'm going to sell. We're not selling life insurance. Millennials definitely don't want to think about that probably. But you just got to, we've got to figure out, all right, what's going to change, what's changing, where's it going, and we have to give them opportunities and a path, and then let them run with it, and they're going to make us all, extremely successful in generations to come. Whatever they're going to call the next one after millennials, I haven't figured that one out yet.
We're talking with Ken Davidson, who works with millennials and is kind of changing the model with his company on how these people work. I was reading an article by Karen Roberts, the Westchester County, New York Journal News, and it said the option of working from home and free meals are just a couple of perks that some employers are offering. They say experts say a growing number of millennials in the workforce are pushing the change, and mixed with more seasoned workers looking for workplace incentives. And they talk about two companies right there in Westchester County in New York, pretty wealthy county. Lockard and Wester, Direct and MindSpark, are prime examples of this. Employees are treated to massages and games, get generous personal time, and feel the camaraderie that comes with a relaxed work environment, all benefits that appeal to millennial workers. So there you go again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been seen some big corporations where they've got gaming rooms, and I'm sitting in my office right now, and I can tell you one thing: we have a big kitchen stocked with food better than my mother ever did when I was a child. And I've got millennials that work here. They come in, they've got any kind of food they want to eat. They can, they got flex time. If they want to come in at 10 and leave at 5 or 4, it's the new age. I mean, cell phone, laptop, and they're out doing what they want to do.
I want to come back and ask you a question, Ken, on how, do they stay on task? I mean, do they work hard when they're there, or do we have to kind of adjust the way we look at these people and how they work? We're going to ask Ken Davis that question when we come back here on the Gary Sutton Show. Fascinating discussion on millennials. And, we often look back and we say, who are we turning the country over to? And really you have to say the Generation X people are turning it over to them. But what are they like? And are there new models? Ken says you got to think a brand new way. Things are changing, and they really are. Here on the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA, back with more from Ken Davis right after this.
All morning on News Radio 910 WSBA and NewsRadio910.com.
Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. Ken Davis, different model to work with millennials. Ken, one of the things I wanted to ask you, though, I mean, with all this freedom and all of this choice and all this stuff, and again, I'm wrapping my head around it, so give me credit here. I'm really trying hard.
All right.
But you don't sound like you believe me. But
I do. I was in the same boat.
Yeah, okay. All right. So you see him walking in, and it's kind of like, it's a little bit more relaxed. And there's got to be a part of you every now and then that says, you know what, get your butt moving, let's go, we've got to do something. But how do you fight that? I mean, and do you ever have to kind of put them back on task a little bit? They wander off because they are kind of a social animal, so to speak. I feel like we're talking about a breed of cat or something, but, we're talking about people here.
Well, you're right on all respects, and I've felt the same way. I think what you have to do is take a step back, and what it's really about is modifying and your culture and your business, because the culture is very important. And yeah, you have to keep, you got to keep anybody on task, but you also have to look at the way you're going to manage the millennials. It's not, going to the 9-to-5 job for 40 years
right.
in 1960 and, wearing the suit and everything else.
And they aren't necessarily going to stick with it. It's not the loyalty to the job that there used to be, right?
Right. It's different. And so, maybe no suit and tie. There is professionalism, and you can be social, professional, and everyone can get their work done, be successful, and have a good time. And it's just a combination of everything. I mean, obviously, you don't want someone coming in here and, holey shorts and, bad, dirty flip-flops and, whatever, but because they are representing your business.
Right.
At the same time, there's a balance. And, they do have pride. And, so it's really your culture. And changing the culture, it's a culture that they want to be a part of. Flexibility, opportunity to make money. Everybody wants to make money, but how am I going to do it? I can work on my own hours. Do you have any kind of new technology? I mean, insurance is not known to be the most technologically savvy business around, but we've, developed some technology where we have iPhone apps and Android apps, and they think that's pretty it's effective, and we're kind of keeping up with modern day advancement. And you got to give them a voice. I mean, they need to be able to be heard. I need to in the insurance business. It's all about writing new business, developing and cultivating new clients, and then also getting next generations, because eventually it's recurring revenue. But we have to figure out the millennials are the future. If I can write insurance for all these new millennials, they're going to be my clients for the next 30, 40 years, right? I don't want to write baby boomers, no offense.
Well,
and
so you got
We've
it.
embraced it.
Yeah, you got to go to that group. What is there a type of job that you see millennials kind of going to, and that they seem to kind of move to or gravitate to?
Outside of my industry, I think obviously any job that's got flexibility, I think we've talked about that enough. Sure. But really, I'm seeing a lot of sales driven, believe it or not. So that may contradict some of the things we've talked about. But they're social, and whether or not social, you're always selling. And I've seen some great successes with that. Any kind of course, technology, something that's hip. And really, though, it really what I've seen is more of the millennials going to work for businesses that have a really hip, kind of a fun culture. That that maybe have the break rooms where they can get massages, or you do a fun happy hour, and then they're incentivized, and you do whoever sells the most in the first quarter gets a trip down to the Gulf of Mexico, or just fun things like that keeps it because they are incentivized, and everyone needs to have that carrot. Yeah. Just that carrot's a little bit different for millennials, I think, than other generations.
Yeah, we don't have a massage room here at our radio station yet, and I may after this interview I may go over to our program director and say, hey, listen, we got to get with it here, man. Let's go.
They deliver. They can drive over and do it. I've done it, and say, hey, 2 hours a day.
Let me ask you one final question. Do millennials feel entitled as a group generally?
I don't necessarily think that they feel entitled. I think that they feel like they have seen what's gone on in the world. And back to what you said earlier about all the different changes, everything has changed so much, so fast every other year. And I think they maybe have a sense of instability of where the world is.
Good point. I like that.
What they're supposed to be doing. So, yeah, maybe they're entitled, but they may have a little. I think I would too.
But they got the tools to maybe play with it too.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, but everybody's got to get out and work, and there is real life, and they figure it out quickly, and they're great workers. They're aggressive, and.
Ken, I got to tell you, it was a fascinating discussion this morning. You're an excellent interview, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I think for people, as we get older, as we all said, we have to look. There are new models. There are new ways of doing things, and obviously our world is changing pretty quickly right now. But thanks for breaking it all down for us this morning. Really great job, and have a great Memorial Day weekend. All right.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken. Take care. Ken Davis. I mean, to me that was fascinating.